And then I came to Momentum and I was paying a 0.002 transaction fee. And I just remember getting that first check thinking, oh my gosh, like I got to keep so much more of my money, and it really helps motivate you to keep going. I mean,
morning, Momentum Tribe and guests who are joining today. We're really excited to have you with us to hear from such an incredible human being, Shauna Clark. And she's going to be going over her story of how she grew her business starting from years ago, her timeline, her experiences, what she's been doing on the investment side, all the things that you would want to hear as being an experienced real estate agent or an agent getting into the business. Shauna has been through it all. And so we're very grateful for her to come on, first off, put this together for you and share her experience. And so along the way, Shauna is going to be sharing. We're going to be asking questions. If you have questions while she's speaking, go ahead and drop them in the chat and we will address them at the end of the call. There'll be an open opportunity for Q&A for 10 to 15 minutes. It may or may not last the full hour. It just depends on where we take things. It is a flexible arrangement, so be sure of that. Shauna, thank you for coming on. I'm so excited to talk to you today. And you're on mute if you want to. All good.
Rookie move.
No, perfect. Welcome. Thank you for being here today. We're really excited to hear from you.
Thank you guys for having me. I know everybody's time is super valuable, so thank you for taking the time to join us today. Anybody else send a text to anybody today saying happy Monday? I have sent out 3 texts and I was like, oh, it's Tuesday. That was how my morning started. But well, I just wanted to talk a little bit about my timeline and how I got things started with the real estate business. And I think, like most of us, we all started with something else. Real estate was not my plan. I think that's common for a lot of people. And it's really interesting to see how that fell into my lap and how the pieces all fell into place along the way. Bear with me. I did put together a timeline, and in school, these timelines are always like the most boring thing. I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet and also touch on just some really important things. And here's just a quick overview of my journey from single agent to having the opportunity to mentor some really amazing agents along the way. I do have a heart for new agents and helping them to the road to success and just holding their hand along the way. I really actually enjoy it. I have a passion for it. And so I've been able to team up with some great ladies, which evolved into starting a team. And that was all a natural progression, nothing I planned. And then the investor portion, it's interesting that this is my last step, because as I was putting together my timeline, there's some pieces very early on that shed light on the investor part of my career, but I didn't know it until now putting this together. So here we go. I kind of grouped 2008 to 2014 together. I was licensed in 2008. I was bartending and I had someone come and say, him and his wife, they wanted to do this whole umbrella thing. They were investors. They wanted an agent basically on staff to help them. And they paid for me to get my license. They paid for my NIFAR dues. They got me all set up. And then basically they went MIA. Their business that they thought that they were going to do didn't work out. And so now here I am with a real estate license and no direction, no guidance. I literally had no idea what to do with this. And so I kind of just sat on it for a couple years. I had a friend that was a broker at Keller Williams. And she said, just come hang it with me so it can be active and then just do whatever you want with it. So that's what I did. And my first sale was in 2010. It was a listing for $55,000. The house, after I listed it, literally within a day, it flooded. And then I got a call from the wife owner telling me, oh, also, by the way, my husband just got arrested. It was like literally thrust into this real estate world is a little bit wild. But we got a cash buyer. That was my first sales. Anyway, it's just interesting to see the beginnings of things. Then in 2011, this is what's super interesting and part of the story is Lori, who was the broker at the time, she said, hey, there's this agent. She's works with a lot of investors and she's getting ready to have a baby and she needs help. And I was bartending at night, so I had my days available to help. And so I said, throw me in. I want to learn from her. I connected with this agent and she really took me by the hand and showed me how to scrub the market. And I kept a spreadsheet. It was updated every single morning. I would get on, I would find the new listings, I would pull comps, I would put it on a spreadsheet if it fit our criteria for our investors. And all day long, they were looking at the spreadsheet and emailing me. That was at the time where they would put 10 offers in at one time, hoping that one would stick. And what's interesting is that fast forward 15 years later, and I don't know if that's the right math, 14 years later, and here I am investing in my own properties and scrubbing the market for myself daily. Everything did come full circle on the investment part of things, but very beginning, God was orchestrating these little details of my story that I didn't know would be so significant in today. Anyway, that was 2008 to 2014. I was a part-time agent. I was making part-time money. I kind of joked with John a little bit. I was that agent that we all talk bad about because I didn't really know what I was doing. And I was a fish out of water. I was winging it. I just was trying, if I sold a house, great. If not, it just wasn't anything I was planning on doing full time. In 2015, I got married.
Could I ask some questions about that period? Awesome. So it sounds like you found a mentor to help you.
I did.
Period. And the market, obviously, we know what happened in 2008, 2011. Yes. There wasn't as much activity going on. Is that something that was front of mind for you, or what? Like the market environment didn't even matter to you because you were bartending at the time?
So every single person that I talked to, because as a bartender, that's what your main job is, to talk to people. Every single person said, "You are crazy. Why are you getting your license right now? This is the dumbest time for you to get your license." And I said, well, I just think it's a really good time to learn. I'm not trying to be a top producer. I definitely wasn't trying to be a top producer. I was not even really trying to be a real estate agent, if I'm being honest. I was just sharing my story with people behind the bar, and that's exactly how I got that $55,000 listing, because I was a familiar face. I was somebody that they already knew, that they already trusted. I had already built relationships with most of these regulars that were coming in, and we know anything about real estate, its relationships are the most important part of our careers. Anyway, yes, it was brought up a lot, the fact that I got my license when I did. But again, I didn't plan that. I didn't find real estate found me. And if someone's going to pay me to get any education, I'm going to do it. And so I took that as an opportunity to step into a field that I didn't really know anything about. And the people that I was supposed to be partnered up with, MIA, and looking back on that was like a little angel in disguise. It just came in and was like, here you go, here's your license, good luck. But now they invested in me, and that was expensive to get started, especially I would have never had $1,000 or whatever to go to NEFAR and get everything signed up. That was just a crucial moment in this story, for sure. Yes. It was on the forefront of my mind, but it wasn't a worry that I had, or it didn't discourage me in any way.
Do you feel like agents today feel that same thing? Are they saying the same things about the market? Hey, this is a crazy time to get into it. Do you hear the same?
Oh, for sure. I brought 2 new girls on the team, and they are newer to the industry, and I am watching them have to navigate this, and it's so crucial to have someone that they can call and text, and not just me, but the other girls on our team, to lean on. Because and I've said it to them a million times, like, I was a new agent in this industry. It's scary, especially with everything, all of the form changes, and they didn't really get to know the old forms. It's not as bad, but there's just so many laws and stuff. If you're coming in now after everything's changed, maybe not as bad, but if you started a year ago and now you're having to learn the industry and now navigate all of these new changes and a really hard market with days on market, then it feels like the odds are stacked against you, for sure.
Maybe your story today will encourage them to stick with it.
I'm hoping so.
What you did. This is awesome. Take us to 2015.
2015, I got married. I had already gotten out of the bartending business, and I was actually working for a physical therapy company doing their marketing and helping them manage things. And I hated it, but I was good at it. And it's one of those jobs that you would come home every day, and my husband was like, do you want to keep doing this? And I was like, no, but what else am I going to do? And he was like, well, if you want to do real estate full time, now is probably the time. He had a salaried job, and didn't have kids, and we were I had bought a townhouse before I'd gotten married. And so we had a really inexpensive mortgage. And so I said, you know what? That's it. Like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go full time. But again, I didn't know what that meant. I just knew that I was committed to making this work. And, I was at Keller Williams, and I never really dove into the culture there. It kind of felt a little clicky, if I'm being honest, but I don't want to use that as an excuse. The resources were there. I just didn't really know where to start or how to use them or any of that. And so I really tapped into my sphere. I didn't know that that's what it was called at the time, but my circle of influence and my sphere of influence. And I really just started talking a lot more about what I was doing. Social media is great. And so I got to go on there and announce, I'm doing this full time if anybody needs help. And so I did 11 transactions, and I capped that year. And it was the first time I capped. I really honestly probably didn't even know what capping was, if I'm being honest, but they're like, you capped, you get to keep 100% of your money. And that was really exciting. And I went from 2.2 million in 1 year. That was a lot to me. 11 transactions was a lot, almost one a month. And I was happy. I was so content there. If that was all I ever did, it was going to be okay. Like, I was contributing to our family. I had made a career out of this. I was full time. I wasn't bartending anymore. I was making my own schedule. I didn't have a boss telling me what I could and couldn't do. So that was 2015, 2016 got a little bit better, 13 transactions, 2.9 million. 2017, I slowed down a little bit. I had Kingston, my son, and he was born with a birth defect. And so we had some navigating of that to do. And I actually remember being in the hallway at Wolfson's talking about a house, believe it or not. But anyways, 2017, 13 transactions. And so if you look at my timeline here, once I went full time, it was 2.2, 2.9, 2.5, and really all around the same number of transactions. I wasn't experiencing huge growth, but I was very content, which can be a scary thing. 2018, we did our first flip. And what's interesting about this is I had somebody call me. I don't know where she got my phone number. I think maybe online. And she said, we're coming from out of town. I'm an investor, and I'm coming from out of town, and I want to find a house in Jacksonville to flip. And I said, okay, well, this is great. I worked with investors. I'm confident that I can help you with this. And so we went out and we hit the ground running, and we found them a flip to do, and she started working on it. And the wheels in my head started turning, and I was like, I want to do one of these. Again, no direction, no nothing, but she was willing to partner up with me and do one. So I found the house. We went half and half into it, and I'll talk a little bit more later about what that deal looked like. But anyway, so we were able to do our first flip in 2018. And, I was doing still regular real estate transactions for 3 million. I did 14 that year. 2018, had my daughter. So it's funny. I start to get momentum, and then you have a baby, which I think a lot of agents go through. I could name several off the top of my head right now. And so there's a struggle, but between, that time that you want to spend with your new baby and the mom side of everything, but that you really can't take a break from real estate, because real estate does not wait for anybody. So there is that fear in your mind to kind of try to power through that time. Okay, so let's talk about 2020. This was a huge year for me. I met with John in March of 2020, and I had seen their announcement. I was sitting on the couch at my house, and I saw their social media announcement. And I said, and my husband Ezra said, what's going on? And I said, John and Brittany just opened a brokerage. He's like, oh, well, that's interesting. And John and Brittany at this point were kind of like some celebrities in our household, because I had started taking classes with Keller. I mean, look, I had my license since 2018, and I had just now started taking classes or 2008, started taking classes like 10 years later. But the classes that I were taking were the ones that John and Brittany were teaching, because I had taken one of them, and I think I think I wrote 8 pages of notes. I'm not even kidding. It was John's class. And I just couldn't write fast enough. And I was like, there's so much value here. And he said, well, my wife's hosting a class later today in like 2 hours. Brittany was going to come in and talk about buyers. And I was like, sign me up. And so, I went from not taking any classes to taking 2 classes in one day. And they were the Brooks classes. So anyway, it was very much on my radar that there was something special about what they were going to be doing. And something stirred inside of me. And I kind of was just watching. I didn't reach out or anything. And I was kind of just watching to see how everything unfolded. And one day I reached out to John I needed a lease. And, they're just always so good about if you need anything, reach out. I knew they had a bunch of rental properties and we were getting ready to rent our property out and I needed a lease. And so he said, sure, send me your email. I'll send it right over. I said, congratulations on the brokerage. And he said, well, what do you think? And I said, I think I need to come sit down and, talk to you. And he said, well, let's go. So we did it. And at our meeting, he's like, Shauna, he already had all my numbers pulled up. He knew everything that there was to know, did his research. And, he said, you're doing $4 million. And he said, but you're a $10 million agent. And I said, there's absolutely no way. I know what goes into 4 million. I have 2 children. My husband travels a lot for work. 10 million just sounded like a unicorn. And what's so funny is I would see these other agents doing these kind of numbers, and deep down I really wanted this kind of success. And I just kept telling myself, it's not your season. You have 2 small kids, your husband is traveling, and I just didn't think that I was ready for an opportunity like that. But lo and behold, in 2020, I finished the year out with $10 million in volume. So I think John does have a little bit of a crystal ball that he doesn't want any of us to know about. But
now you're on your way to 100 million, right?
So now our team is on its way to 100 million. You ready, Savannah? So 27 transactions. I thought, this is it. This is the most real estate I'm ever going to do. Okay. Like, this is a lot went into this, a lot of sacrifices. So I joined Momentum in March of 2020. That's also when I started buying online leads. John had told us everybody was coming out of, everybody was dropping it because they had to cut costs. It was COVID. And he said, this is when we double down. This is when everybody backs out. This is when we go all in. And, if you've been in real estate any amount of time, these Zillow people call you constantly trying to get you to buy leads. And I just never listened to it, never entertained it. And then when John started talking about it, I was like, okay, again, like, seems like an opportunity that we really shouldn't pass up. So I did start buying Zillow leads in 2020, and it really did warp speed my business. You've heard John say, like, online leads are not forever, but I don't know if I can show you. I was going to try to show you my spreadsheet, but that's okay. I don't know how to get there.
Look at it. Yeah, this is great.
But I'll show you if I can get to that screen at the end. 2020, I had color coded it so you can see which one of those transactions were Zillow. I should have had a breakdown for you guys, but it's really eye-opening to see what it did for my database going forward. So something that I was, not educated about, didn't really, and obviously, like, it was a chunk of money. And I was like, you know what, we're putting it on a credit card. Like, we're just going to do this. And everything paid off. And that was the year we had moved, we had built a house. And so our primary home that we were living in, we started renting that one. That was our first rental property. And then that's also when I started mentoring, because I needed leverage. And, I had a heart for these new agents. And Momentum, we had a really great program, a mentorship program. And it was nice because you could work alongside these agents and help them, but they could also help you. And there was just like a little bit of a partnership. And what I really, again, didn't know that was forming at that time was the start of something that would be a team. And then I was already able to work alongside these agents for a little bit of time before we formed the team. And so it was almost like a tryout. But again, I didn't orchestrate any of this. This all just, the pieces kind of fell into place. And it was just almost time for the next chapter of the story. So in 2021, 12 million, and this is personal volume. So I did a little bit of an increase from 29 transactions. That's when I started the Rise group at the end of 2021. I asked Savannah to partner up with me. And she did. And so I'm very grateful for her. She's the OG. And so we did 17 million in team volume that year. And it was a good year. We finished strong. We had kind of gotten a lot of our, how we were going to operate as a small team into place to move onward to 2022. So this is another big year for me. 2022, I did 13 million in volume and 22 transactions. So if you notice, I did less transactions, but more volume, which that's the key, right? Like, let's work smarter, not harder. And we had renovated our primary that we at this point, we had been renting that home out for 2 years. And this house was, at this point, this house was going to be, this was the most this house was ever going to be worth. Sorry. And so I said, it's just time to sell it. This is when John started selling off of all his rentals and kind of guiding us to the next step of the investment journey. And it was to have cash and hold it because we really weren't sure what the market was going to be. So we sold our primary property and kind of just held on to that cash, which you'll see what we did with that later on. We added another girl to the team, Jessica. And what's really crucial about 2022 is the touch programs that we implemented. We hit it so hard in 2022 with touch programs. We sat down, and me and Savannah, this was before Jess came on, and we went through an entire calendar, and every single month we had a touch program going out. And it wasn't always anything crazy, but every single month we were sending something to our people, some fashion. And if you notice, from 2022 to 2023, if you look at my volume, it's significantly high. And when I look back to this day, I give credit to the touch programs that we put into place. There's just something about constantly staying in touch with the people in your database, in your sphere, and letting them know you're there if they need anything, and just adding value too. And we got pretty clever with some of these little touch programs, and people loved it. It was like, what are they going to send us next month type thing. So the touch programs were super crucial to the growth of both of our businesses and our team. So 2023 was 19 million, and this is personal volume, 38 transactions. It was a huge year for me. Our team ended with 30 million team volume. We were awarded Team of the Year and through Momentum. And we bought our third investment property that we were going to flip. And I'm going to show you guys some of those numbers here in a minute. But I just kind of wanted you to see that the investment journey, like you can go at your own pace. There doesn't have to be hurry up and buy a bunch of properties in 1 year or a short amount of time. Mine kind of fell into place as opportunities presented themselves. And so that's what happened. We bought our third flip in 2023. It was a huge house, very high price point. It felt like a huge risk, but I had peace about it the whole time, and it panned out. But I'm going to show you guys those numbers in a little bit. 2024, this is all numbers year to date since we're still here in 2024, but 13 million, 24 transactions, added 2 new lovely ladies to the team, Katie and Michelle. And what's interesting in this season is, it's not going to be a $19 million volume year. There's just no way. We're in November. And so if you don't take a whole lot from this, what I do want you guys to see is that there is a season for everything. And it's not always going to be your season to be a top producer or an investor or starting a team or whatever it is. But, this season is so crucial in what's going on in my life right now because with growing the team, a lot goes into that. And these girls, and I want to make sure that they're getting what they need from me as their team leader, especially being newer to the industry. And also, we were able to do 2 investment properties this year, which supplements the income from not doing as many real estate transactions. So I just want you to see that it's not always to go backwards in your numbers or to not excel or exceed every single year above your previous numbers, which I know that we get stuck in our head about. I do that. I'm hard on myself, believe me. subconsciously that $6 million is bugging me. And I just keep reminding myself that it was not my season to sell, 38 houses, but I was able to pour into my family more, my children more. I was able, we do a homeschool co-op with them. And so I was really able to protect the time. Thursdays and Fridays are the days that I school them at home. And I was really able to protect that time with them this year. And last year, that wasn't the case. I was like, here, watch this movie. I know you're supposed to be doing school, but watch this movie while I work. And that wasn't fair to them. And so I really was able to take a step back this year and reevaluate my priorities and grow my team, grow my investment portfolio, and be with my family, be present with my family is what I should say. And then I had to pop this little picture in of my cute little team. I love them so much. Shameless plug, the Rise Group.
There's a lot of people, I feel like in the business, they don't have the awareness around what the actual priorities are in your life. What's your process of figuring out what that is, right? We all know success is not a straight line. It goes up and it goes down depending on the season of life that you're in. How do you bring that awareness and keep that front of mind when you're making decisions in your life and your business?
I'm really in tune with just I think my mental health, to be quite honest. I've struggled in the past with it and recently, if I'm being honest. And I have tied so much of my worth and my value to being a successful real estate agent. And that is not what it is all about. And there's days that I'm just sitting there looking at my kids and I'm like, this is what it's all about. And I just really have, when I'm go like that, and like last year with all those sales, it didn't feel right to me, but you can't, sometimes you just can't stop. You get caught up in it and you want more, and it's addicting. We know that. And you have to I think I really just had to be like, financially, we're okay. But am I okay emotionally, mentally, physically? And let's take this little bit of extra time you have to get healthy in the other areas of your life, because it just can spiral and get out of control faster than you realize. And I don't also want anybody to think that's bad either, to be successful and all that. You have to find what fits best for you and your family. And for me, internally, I knew something was off. We weren't aligned. And I just knew that it was time to take a step back and really focus on my family. And I had so many conversations, Shauna, with you over the years about this, and kind of the struggle between really wanting to be at home with my kids and really wanting to be present, and also wanting to be a top producer. And sometimes you just can't do it all. And that's where I really ask myself, is it your season? What is this? What is the season for you? What does this look like? And I lean on my faith a lot, and I just would pray. This doesn't feel good. Like something's off, and I really need to have a peace about what's going on in our life. And so I am there. I am there. I'm finishing out this year in such a good place. I have such a peace about everything that's happening, a calmness, an awareness, and I am right where I need to be. I'm excited. I really am excited for 2025. I don't know what it looks like, but I think it's going to be a really good year overall.
I love it. That's really good feedback. Now, I remember going to lunch with you and we were talking about leverage and the pieces that you brought into your life to help you're not doing everything, right? Because you're a mom of 2 young kids, you have all these home responsibilities, and then you have all these business responsibilities. What are some of the key pieces of leverage that have made the biggest impact on you in terms of getting your time back and counterbalancing all the work that you've put in?
Yes. And I don't want you to think I came up with any of these ideas myself, because you gave them to me. I just want to put that out there, because we learn from the people that are already doing it, which you tell us all the time, learn from the people that are already doing it. Don't reinvent the wheel. Someone's already done this. Somebody's already doing what you're doing. So find out what they're doing and just copy it. And so that's what I did. I looked at John and Brittany's life and I'm like, what are you guys doing? And there was 3 components, really. One, get yourself a house cleaner, because your time is worth more than that. And I have had this, she's there at my house right now. I left the house and she was cleaning. But it's not just that your house is getting cleaned. What happens when that is taken off your plate is not only are you not having to clean your house, but like now me and my husband, we don't argue about it because I don't have to get on to him about scrubbing the toilet because I don't have to scrub the toilet. So neither one of us has to scrub the toilet and it's still getting done. And so it was also such a helpful thing in my marriage and my relationship because not only had I taken that off of my plate, I had taken it off his plate, and now we could just one less thing to argue about. I leveraged with house cleaning. I got some childcare, but the childcare one was the hard one for me because I wanted to be with my kids and I wanted to be the one pouring into them and raising them and teaching them and all of that. And so what I learned was even though I was physically there with them, I wasn't doing those things anyway because I was working. Yes.
We're there with them, right?
They're in my care and I'm keeping them safe and I'm feeding them, but I don't have the time to teach them or play with them or anything because I'm trying to do it all at once and that's just not possible. I did find something that worked for me, and that was bringing someone into my home to watch them so that I could take some breaks and go be with them on lunch or whatever. They were there and I could go and see them, talk to them, whatever. That was actually that was a big one. And just finding someone that I was comfortable with. I went through a few before I found some good ones, but they were little. So things are different now. We are homeschooling, but 3 days a week they're in a co-op. And so I dropped them off now. But when they were little, it was just, I just really didn't want to do the daycare thing. There's nothing wrong with it. That just wasn't that's not what I wanted to do. That finding that fit was crucial. And then meals, cooking, that was a big one. We tried all of the meal services. And that was helpful too. We kind of go back and forth with that one. We have someone come twice a month and cook some meals for us. But those were those little pieces of leverage. And then as far as the business goes, I really leaned on the girls on my team for showings. If I wanted to go out of town, I was able to lean on the team. You were a team, which I used showing agents too, and that always worked out fine. But I was able to say my partner is going to meet you, and those were kind of a few things that I did for leverage during that time.
That's awesome. So you're talking about you're getting your energy back, you're having better relationship with your spouse, you are making more money because it's like paying somebody to do something for $20 an hour while your hourly is probably like 300 plus at this point. Yeah. And so you're getting time, energy, and money from making these leverage pieces. And what caused you to make that change? Was it we're like, hey, I'm experiencing so much pain from this, or I don't know where to go, and that caused you?
I was just constantly stressed out. And my husband, when we in 2020, he started working from home because of COVID, and I was like, oh, that's great. I have a childcare person in my home, my husband, and he's like, you don't understand, like I'm working. And I was like, oh, it's fine, I'm just gonna run to this house, open it up, show these people, I'll be right back. And that was just kind of a strain because in my mind I'm like, you're home you can watch the kids. He's like, I'm working. So I was able to, there was just a lot of pain points around that, and it all kind of stems back to Zillow, the online leads. You have to go right when they call. There is no delay. I can meet you at the house in 30 minutes or an hour or whatever. And so to be successful with those online leads, you have to be answering your phone. You have to be going as fast as you can, and to have kids in the background, mommy, mommy, mommy. I was running from room to room, shutting the door, trying to get away from them so I could talk to this person on the phone without my kids in the background. I knew that I was going to make this work. We had to make some changes. And again, once I weighed everything out, I was like, these changes are okay. And everybody is better. The kids were better. Someone was actually sitting there playing with them and taking them to the park and doing all of the fun things. It was my pain points for sure that led me to, and just watching other people do it. I was like, okay, this can be done in a way that we're all comfortable with. And that's just the trick, is finding out what works for you and your family and your business. It's not one size fits all.
You're leveraging your team activities, you're leveraging stuff at home, and now let's jump into how you're leveraging your money to make more money for you.
All right, here we go. I've only done 4. I'm not super seasoned, but what I want you guys to see is that each one of these I did a completely different financing style. Every single one is different. Each scenario is different. Each price point is different. But I'm going to go through these kind of quick. If you have any questions, we can talk about it. But this was the very first one that I partnered up with the investor that I told you that called me from out of town. We bought this we were under contract for $75,000. It underappraised, so we got it for $70,000. And we used a hard money loan. I was brand new in the investment side of things, and she was just getting started. She had already done a few, but we both had $30,000 to contribute to the pot of money. And so we needed the rest of the money to purchase the home, and then we needed the renovation money. We bought it for $70,000. We put $30,000 into it. We sold it for $165,000. And these numbers, when I say reno cost in these, that is all in. That includes my JEA, my utilities, any kind of lawn care, it's not just supplies, labor, everything. My reno cost on these numbers is all in. If there was a mortgage payment, closing costs for the hard money loan, all of that is included in the reno cost. I mean, $36,000, and we had partners, so we split it, $18,000 each, and we did all of the work ourselves. We didn't really hire out on this. My husband and the other investors did a lot of the work. That was the very first one. It was over off University. And when we were done, we're like, we need to go door knock this whole neighborhood, because every single one of these houses looked like this on the inside. It was an entire neighborhood that could be renovated. We didn't do that, but anyway, that was reno number one. And so $18,000, that wasn't a ton of money to be able to go and do anything, but we got our $30,000 back out. So at this point, we had probably about almost $50,000 to invest, which we didn't. We probably spent it, but okay. So reno number two, this was our primary residence that I told you we rented out for a couple years. We lived in it from 2015 to 2020. We didn't really do anything while we lived there. We did put a pool in, but as far as upgrades and renovations, we didn't do any of that. We really didn't have the money to do it. So we held it, we rented it out for a couple years, and then we had some money to put into it to renovate it and sell it. We purchased that for 2015. We sold it for $500,000, and the reno cost was about $75,000. And we needed siding on this one, so the siding gets you every time. And so we walked away with $150,000 on that one. And so that was really the big chunk of money that helped us to be able to get to these next steps.
And you said you lived in that one for 2 years?
We lived in this one for 5 years.
5 years.
We rented it.
That's awesome. Okay.
It was our primary. And then when we built a house in 2020, we kept this one and rented it out for 2 years.
Perfect.
And then renovated and sold it. And then reno number three, this is the one we did this year. This one was so big, you guys, 3,200 square feet, 5 bedrooms plus an office. It was in Julington Creek Plantation. And I stumbled across this looking for a house for a buyer, and it was trashed. It was a foreclosure. The ceiling was sinking in. The pool had a tarp on it. It was just bad. But what I knew was that I was helping people with $750,000 budgets look at houses in the same area, the same square footage, and that these homes weren't updated, and they were putting offers in on them. And I said, there's money to be made at this house. And so I kind of watched it for a little bit. It was higher. I think it was listed for $565 or something like that. We were able to negotiate with the bank a little bit. Even after we were under contract, I got it down another $10,000. The company was out of Tampa, and I called the guy and I said, have you even been inside this house? Because I know that as a listing agent in Tampa, he probably has not even been to this house. And he's like, no. And I said, it is so bad inside. And I sent him pictures, and I said, we're going to need another $10,000 off of this price. And they gave it to us. Anyway, this was a big one. This was a luxury listing, a luxury home. When it was done, it was a luxury home. But we sold it. We listed it for $799. It was on the market 18 days. I was just getting ready to do a price reduction, and someone made us an offer for $765. And I said, I was just getting ready to do a reduction anyway. I counter offered them at the $789, which is what I was going to reduce it to. They took the offer, and we closed on it. But I mean, look how much money we put into it. $150,000. That's a ton of money to make 74 is a good chunk of money, but we had to hold this for 6 months. The very first one we did hard money. Our second one, our primary. So we had a VA loan, and then this one was just a conventional loan. I just went to my lender and he's like, well, you've got to hold it for 6 months. And I said, well, this is a huge house. I imagine that that's going to be okay. And it was. We held it. And so again, the reno cost includes our mortgage payments, the interest. We have a home equity line of credit, $150,000 dollar home equity line of credit, which is what we use to fuel a lot of these. And so there's costs, monthly payments on that. This one had a pool. I was doing monthly pool service on it, or weekly pool service on it. There was a lot of costs that went into this one. And all of the neighbors told me I was never going to sell it for this price. And I did. We set the neighborhood record, which I like to do that often. But anyway, this house came out beautiful. And that was reno number 3. We learned a lot from this one. We learned so much from this one. And this was the first one that we really did on our own. And that was this year. We just actually sold that in July. And I said, oh, we're going to take a break because this one was so big. Well, then we didn't take a break because when the opportunities present themselves, again, this wasn't the plan. I went on this listing appointment and I realized that this would be one we could do quickly. And I asked the seller if I could make him an offer, and I did. He said, just make me a fair offer. I knew that he needed to get out of this really quickly. And I knew at this point I had enough cash that if he took my offer at 225, I could pull it off. And I told him that. I said, if this number works for you, we can close in 14 days. And he said, where do I sign? And we went in, and this was our 6-week reno. We bought this September 20th, and we went live last Thursday with it. So 6 weeks, almost on the dot. I think it was 45 days from start to finish. And I've got it listed at 350. We put 55 into it, and we'll make about 50,000, and that's in 6 weeks. So, we did one that took us 6 months, made 74,000 versus this one that'll take us about 6 weeks. A profit of 50K. And I'm actually expecting an offer on it today. But you guys, we had open houses, we all know that this market is hard right now, but we had open houses Saturday and Sunday. One person showed up to my open houses, one all day Saturday, all day Sunday. So Sunday afternoon, I got my feedback from my agents and I was like, this is not good. Did we miss the mark? And I kept reminding myself, seasonality, Veterans Day weekend, it's a terrible time to list a house. It's November, it's almost Thanksgiving, all the things I would tell my seller if this was them. And to be honest, I prayed about it, and I told God, I trust you, in this story and in my story, and it's in your hands. And we had 2 showings yesterday, and I got a call that one of them wants to make an offer. So I'm hoping that works out, but we'll see. But yeah, so that's reno number 4. I mean, that's my investment story. I don't think it's over. I know that my husband would like a break, but if the opportunity presents itself, it's game on.
So Ezra's managing most of the construction on the reno himself, and that's, you guys are doing cost savings there?
Yeah, I'm the project manager. I am lining up the trades. With each one, we learn a little bit more. And this one, I was not messing around. We closed on Friday. As I'm signing paperwork, the dumpster was being delivered to the house. I used my due diligence period to have every single trade meet me at that house to give me the quotes, sometimes several. There was a combination lockbox on the door, so I would have them. I didn't even have to be there. I'm like, hey, go and tell me how much it's going to cost me to And I checked I didn't own the house at this time. So I did check with the seller and say, is it okay if I have some trades go by? And the roof was 2020, the AC was 2023, and the water heater was 2024. So I knew going into this one, we were just talking cosmetic only. And I knew it was going to be, we were going to list at 250 because he wanted to unload it. And when I went in there and saw just the amount of work it was going to be and what I would need to get it at. And I told him that. I said, I think we'll go under contract at 250. I said, but they are going to destroy you at inspections. I said, and this price 225, that's it. I'm not going to ask you for anything else, and he said, okay. And so we did it. But yes, Ezra, he doesn't know how to tile. He might learn that next. And for sake of time purposes, because it's when you have all your money tied up in it, different. It is so much different. You have such a motivation to move faster, get things done quicker, versus the other one that we had to hold for 6 months. We knew that we had some time to kind of lollygag. This one, there was no time. I need my money out of this ASAP. I don't have a mortgage payment or anything like that, but my life savings is in this house. So I kind of want to sell it fast. So we did hire out. We hired a lot out for this one. I had it all lined up. Ezra came in at the end of this one and did all of the handyman stuff that you really don't even think about that goes down. But light fixtures, vanities, mirrors, faucets, closet systems, doorknobs, door handles, all of it. All of the things that you're like, I mean, he spent the last week, he was there almost every single day. So it's a lot of work that goes into it, but he's definitely ready for a break. But managing the project yourself, is definitely a way to save the money. I mean, if someone was running this for me, there probably wouldn't be a whole lot of profit left over. So.
Right. And for you as an agent and an investor, how much better of an agent are you now that you're investing?
Oh, no, I mean, I do look at things a lot differently now. And a lot of the conversations that I have with my sellers are more authentic and more genuine because I can speak from a place of experience. There's so many things we tell our sellers and that we're just saying because we're in this industry and we've been through these transactions with a lot of other people. But when you are the one in that vulnerable place, or you're the one, with your house sitting days on market, it's a different, you come from a different place when you're speaking to them. And it does add more it adds more tools to your tool belt for sure. And I think it definitely adds value to my clients for sure.
You might have more empathy, right? Like you have all your money locked up in a house and only got 1 or 2 showings. You know exactly how other sellers.
It's painful.
You can get on their level and talk with them.
For sure.
And because like right now, there's a lot of sellers out there, right, that have their house sitting. They're not getting as many showings. They're scared. They don't know if they're going to start losing equity. They're not sure if they should take the offer that came in $50K lower.
They're making mortgage payments. They're paying utilities. And this guy, he wasn't even living there. So he was paying 2 mortgages. So, I mean, and it's just, we have such an advantage as agents, these kinds of opportunities. I mean, you are the first one in these doors looking at these houses. And it's like, you have to be ready for these opportunities. I think I talk about that on the next slide. Opportunities like this presented itself to me in the past, and I couldn't do anything about it. I wasn't ready. I had not set myself up to be able to take advantage of those opportunities. It wasn't my season to do that. And so now it is, and the opportunities are becoming more abundant. And because now I think I'm also looking for them, I have my eyes opened a little bit more as to before. I couldn't see the opportunities because I had so much else going on and this levels of stress. I was like, there's no way I can add to them. So like and also to be able to be on the buy side and represent yourself and the sell side and represent yourself, there's savings there. You're still getting paid a commission. And, it's just, we are in a really good position as agents to be able to really take advantage of investment properties when those opportunities present themselves.
I love it.
So.
The way I see it is like you leveraged out a lot of your responsibilities in your business and your life, and that led you to have this opportunity to look, hey, what are the other opportunities that I can take advantage of? And now you are. Yeah.
And I mean, I think I would be lying if I said there's not a burnout in real estate. There is. And after a $19 million year, I was there. That was my ceiling, that was, every year I thought, okay, this is the most I can do. I'm maxed out. But truly 19 million really is. Like, there was nothing left.
You're saying that as a solo agent, right?
Solo agent. There's just nothing left. There's just nothing left to give. And so to be able to push forward from that point, it has to look different. It can't be just resale real estate. It had to look different to be able to fill those gaps with income and kind of breathe some fresh air into real estate for me because I was feeling tired. I was feeling like, do I want to keep doing this? It's a lot. We all know that. And so you kind of find a new niche or new path. It's still real estate, but now I get to enjoy it in a different way. I'm still servicing buyers and sellers, but it's just another branch of real estate that I can enjoy. So, and I really, really, really like doing the fix and flips a lot. So we'll see.
You look beautiful.
I don't know what's next. Yeah. The befores and afters are my favorite. And I did the kitchen on every single one, but man, some of these bathrooms and stuff, and even the exteriors, that one in Durban had pink stucco. And when we left it was whiteboard and batten. It was stunning. So we definitely sometimes spend more money to get the look that we're going for, which I'm sure is something we're not supposed to be doing if you got in my ear, but we're very pleased, so far. I knew that house had to look a certain way to get the price that I was asking for it in that neighborhood. So I had to really make it a showstopper. So
love it. Well, and we're going to have her answer your questions from the audience. Feel free to pop them in the chat or begin with raising your hand.
Just a few lessons learned along the way. People do love a good success story. They like when you talk about that online. They like to see where you came from and where you're going and how you're doing it. Not everyone is going to clap for you. And my advice to you is keep doing it anyway, because I had people very close to me that still to this day have not been able to tell me congratulations. They don't understand what we're doing. It doesn't make sense to them. And so therefore they can't understand it. And so they can't celebrate your wins because they're not having those wins. There's always just going to be those people that they're just not going to clap for you. And that's okay. Keep doing your thing. And we just can't always worry about people's opinions. And I know that that's a lot easier to say than do, but comparison is the thief of joy. This is a big one I learned in my career. Again, I was seeing all these agents do their thing, make big money, post huge numbers on social media, and I wanted it so bad, but I don't know what was going on behind the scenes in their life. And you really cannot compare. No matter what stage you are at in your real estate career, that is your season to embrace. And if God has other things for you, they're going to come to fruition, and you don't have to worry about when it's going to happen. And so that is probably honestly my biggest piece of advice is don't play the comparison game. It will rob you of all good things in your life. Focus on what's right in front of you and make the most of that in the time that you have. Timing is everything, and you have to be ready for opportunities. I know I said it a million times. Is it your season? Really focus on it's the exact same thing. Focus on what's right in front of you. Opportunities will present itself. And when you're ready for them, you'll be able to take advantage of them. And so again, I think the comparison one and the is it your season kind of go hand in hand, but manifest the ideas you can't stop thinking about. There's a reason you can't forget about it. This is kind of how I check myself. If I have ideas, which I have a lot of ideas, and some of them are crazy, and I write a lot of them down in my notebook, but there are ideas that wake me up in the middle of the night, and I lay there thinking about them and I can't go back to sleep. I'll be doing anything else. And this idea, it's one of those things where if I don't take action, if I don't start writing steps down and making moves, it's not going to go away. Those are the ones that some ideas just come in and go out, but the ones that just keep popping into your head, or those have been laid on your heart for a reason, and find someone that's doing it, or ask questions. Our tribe is awesome. There's always someone here to help you. Obviously, if it's real estate related, but if it's something else, not real estate related, still, there's a reason that it's been laid on your heart. Those are my little tidbits of my lessons learned. There's a lot more, but those are some of the ones that stuck out to me as I was preparing for this.
This is amazing. Your story is just super inspiring, and we're grateful to have you on here. The lessons are they're really good reminders. If you haven't heard some of these things before, they're really great to hear the first time. And a lot of these are great reminders for me. So I hope other people also got a lot of value out of her presentation. With that, we'd like to open up Shauna to the floor. I got a bunch of questions in the chat.
Where's the chat?
Yes, the chat is blowing up right now. I'm going to take, if you could stop the screen share, that would be great.
Okay.
And then we'll open up the floor to everybody. So I see Savannah, Ella, LaDonna, Tony, Artie. Hey, everybody, good to see you. If you want to go ahead and unmute yourself, that would be great. And we'll spend the next couple minutes asking Shauna some questions about her journey.
I had a question if you had like a coach at all throughout your career besides John and Brittany.
I didn't. I really didn't. I didn't really know that that was a thing. I had the first agent that I kind of teamed up with was our working relationship was actually very short. We didn't work together very long. She ended up having some more kids and kind of just dipping out of real estate. But what she poured into me in the very beginning was really valuable. Like to this day, she taught me so much. And that's probably the extent of my mentorship. Another kind of lesson learned that I didn't put on my thing was that I did not understand the value of agent relationships. I didn't realize that we could all do this together and that we could collaborate and cheer each other on. I very much had the mindset of like, this all needs to be separate and that's my competition and how are they going to help me? I just didn't really understand it. And if I could go back, I would definitely have tried to build more of those relationships probably at Keller and find some of those top producers and really cling to them and try to learn from them. And so that is one of the things, that is honestly one of my regrets, is not understanding the value of agent relationships sooner in my career.
One of the things that I appreciate from Shauna is when she feels like she gets stuck. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but when you feel like it, she reaches out, right? She doesn't sit around and just sit in it for a long time. Well, I don't know actually how long you sit in it, Shauna, but you reach out and you ask for help. And I think a lot of people, they don't ask for help and they think they have to do everything on their own. But you reach, you're like, hey, this is, and you're specific about the help that you're looking for. You're like, I need help on this. And can you point me in the right direction, or do you have any ideas on it? And I think a lot of people, they just feel like they don't want to ask for help, or they have an ego about it, or I don't know why, but you do it. And I think that's why you get to the next level faster than others, because you know what key piece you're missing. And then you go out and try to find that information. You're a learner, basically. Everyone, we're talking at the beginning of the meeting, saying, I want to learn. I don't even want to learn. It's the same thing now. You just want to keep growing and learning. And that is what's causing all of this growth to happen in your life.
Yes, I agree. I do agree with that. We have so much information at our fingertips. And so if we don't know the answer to something, we can definitely find it. And it's the same when we get, as you were saying, stuck. Like, why are we stuck? And how do we get unstuck? And our tribe is like no other here. And there's a plethora of people at any time that will help you with anything. And I'm one of them. If you are on this call and you need anything, call me, email me, text me. We can do coffee, lunch, whatever it is. I know what it was like to be that agent. And so I want to help you. I want you to feel supported.
I love that. Ella, I think you had a question.
My question was on flips. So I've always wanted to do one since I've gotten into real estate. And I know that a good way to start is to partner with people. But I know that we need to bring value to the project and everything. And most of the times I hear that usually if you find the flip, then like you can partner with someone who has more resources and experience. And I know a lot of your flips kind of just happened in like all different ways, like you said, but is there a way that you think might be the best way for someone who has no clue how to like start finding a flip, how to even find those to be able to bring to a partner?
I have a lot of questions. What do you have to bring besides your real estate? Like, do you guys have money saved? Austin's handy, some money saved, but then like also like how to find them. I know you said you found one on the MLS. I don't know if that's like a diamond or if there actually is. I have found every single one of mine on the MLS, to be quite honest with you, which I know is not, everybody says off market, but you can create the deal, especially you in this, with your skill set, you can create the deal. And that's what I have done. At 250, that house would not have worked for me. I had to find out what that house what was going to work for me with my numbers. And that was the offer that I made. And I was prepared to walk away from the deal if it didn't fall into the parameters. But I found every single one of them on MLS. And what I do is I basically pull up the area. Like I'm really like want to be in Julington Creek just because it's so close to me. And there's so many opportunities because people want to live in an established neighborhood, but they want a new construction house. And so there's a lot of opportunity to make that happen in Julington Creek. I basically just pull up Julington Creek and I sort ascending square footage so that the lowest price is at the highest square footage at the bottom, if that makes sense. And I know being in that neighborhood enough, I know what I need to be at. I know about what the square footage needs to be at and what the price needs to be at. And I'm happy to talk to you about more of that later. But this one was in Argyle. It was 35 minutes from my house. It is the complete opposite of what we were trying to do. But I was like, we can do anything for 6 weeks. It'll be fast. Like, let's just get in, get out, and make it happen. And so that's what we did. It wasn't fun driving over there as often as we were, but we made it through. That's another thing. You want them to be, at least for me, we want them to be kind of to where we can pop in, especially if you're doing a lot of the work yourself. You don't want them to be very far from your life.
That makes sense.
That's my personal thing. Even the one we did off University was a drive. Just try to keep them close by, but I'm usually watching a couple constantly. I'm watching a few right now in my area, but I'm at a place where I have to sell one to buy the next one. And I watch them, and honestly, by the time I can pull the trigger, the price has been reduced more, and now the deal is even sweeter. There was one that I couldn't jump on because my money was tied up, and so I have a buyer that I've known for a long time that's been wanting to invest, and I gave her the deal, and she's in the process of renovating it right now for us to sell when she's done. So, and that one was over in 32259 with a pool. And Savannah actually did the negotiating on that one, and it was listed for 480 and Savannah got it for her for 420. There's that. You just have to create some of these deals.
Well, it gives me a lot of hope that they're on the MLS because I feel like it's normally, I don't know, I hear like off market and all the things. That's good to hear your story.
Yeah, and I'll keep you posted. Like I said, I'm watching, I can start sending you some of the ones that I'm just looking at. And so you can have an idea of what that looks like.
I would love that.
From my end.
I could even shadow you for no money.
Come on.
Thank you.
And just a comment too, we do have Momentum Private Lending that we started at the beginning of the year. So if you have a deal that you don't have the money to fund, we will fund it. We've got $3.3 million out with agents right now who on those deals are going to make $1.1 million in profit.
So awesome.
So
that's awesome.
If you have the deal and you can take it down yourself, you can partner with us, you can partner with the other agent. We just want you to make money. So it doesn't matter what exit you want, but we're just so you know, there's another resource within the tribe that you can push the button, just call me and I can help you walk you through. I can help you underwrite the deal. But, as Ella alluded to, and Shauna says, it's finding the deal. And then you can
That's the hardest part
in the partnership after that. And a lot of deals are on MLS right now, especially if they're sitting for more than 90, 100 days, you can negotiate pretty significantly off. So props to Savannah on that. That's freaking great. 60K.
That was a good deal. Yeah. And I mean, a lot of these houses are sitting empty too. So that's another thing. Like find the ones that someone is paying a mortgage on this house. And, our price point for paying cash is really, maxed out at 220. So we paid 225 for that one cash. And then I use my credit cards. I have $90,000 on credit that I use. I kept a little bit of cash because you have to pay trades with cash. And then I put the rest on my credit card. And that's how I go on vacation. Like I literally have a Marriott card and I have an American Airlines card. And that is it. And so by the time we're done renovating and I pay those cards off, I've got a trip waiting for me from my points. So it's not all cash. I mean, I'm kind of like stretching it a little to make some of these deals work. And I do have a home equity loan. I have $150,000 home equity line of credit. And then we had $100,000 cash. So that was $250,000. So when I paid $225,000 for that house, I had $25,000 left over and I kept that cash safe to pay the tile guys, the floor guys, whatever. And then I put everything else on my credit card. So that's why I need to sell this house today because I cannot stand having a balance. on things. So there is stress that goes into it, but I don't have a mortgage payment on this one. The paying cash for this was such the feeling behind that. It's like you're like, okay, we've kind of made it a little bit. Like, and the last one when we held that one for 6 months, I mean, that was those mortgage payments on that house was $3,800 a month on 5. That wasn't our loan amount, but it was 300 and something. But at 7% interest, like those are some big mortgage payments. So it's nice to not have a payment lingering over your head. But again, I would like to cash my money out as soon as possible.
That's great. That's awesome. And just so you know, on the payment side, we do have the lending arm. We can negotiate a deal where you wouldn't have to make monthly payments. So just keep that in mind. So we have one more question. So we're at time, and so we have one more question. And then if there's additional questions, feel free to reach out, or me and Shauna, I can get the answer for you. This one comes from Carla. Hey, Carla, glad you're on this call. It says, what is your advice to a brand new agent entering now? What is the best advice to choosing the right brokerage?
Oh, to choosing the right brokerage. Okay. I think that you need to find a brokerage that is offering you value. It has to make sense. You know, are you getting the amount of money that you're paying towards your brokerage? Are you getting that back in value? What are you paying that brokerage for? What are they bringing to the table? You know, brokerage should be more than just a place to hang your license. You should be getting support and classes and value and just people that can come alongside you. I think that, you know, and I don't want to talk bad about any brokerage, because I think that it's not a one size fits all. And so you have to find, you know, your pain point and what each one is offering. For me, there was a huge difference when I came from Keller Williams and I was paying a 70-30 split to, you know, and that's not just 70-30. There's a lot more that goes into it. You know, Ian on every transaction, desk fees, what else, John? Royalty, monthly fees. And so by the time it was all said and done, it was more 60-40 split, or, you know, 50-50. I don't even know what the splits were when it was all said and done. I'm sure you know the exact number. And then I came to Momentum and I was paying a 0.002 transaction fee. And I just remember getting that first check thinking, oh my gosh, like I got to keep so much more of my money. And it really helps motivate you to keep going. I mean, some of those checks from Keller I would get and I would just feel so defeated. And I started capping every year when I would go from 2015 when I went full time. I was capping. They called me the undercover capper because I capped every year, but nobody ever saw my face or knew who I was because I didn't dive into the culture there. But I was capping every year just to reset again. I wasn't really getting to take advantage of it because it was taking me all year to get to my cap. And so I would maybe get one check without the splits. But, you know, Momentum, we do have a cap, but it was one of those things where if I never cap, I was okay because I was getting to keep so much more out of each paycheck. And so that for me, that was a huge pain point for me. And also just the value that the brokerage brings you. So you have to find out what it is you need and what you're looking for, and then find the fit for you.
That is really good advice. Shauna, you sure you don't want to be a recruiter? Because that is literally word for word what we say. You know, they're like, well, what can you offer? And we're like, well, what do you need?
It's the same. I mean, it's the same way we would talk to our sellers or our buyers. Like you have to get to the bottom of what it is your buyers and sellers need, what they're looking for, what they're trying to accomplish, what motivates them, you know, and that's the same thing with agents. Like we can't help you until we know what your needs are. But yeah, I mean, it's the same conversations. New York, John, just want you to open a brokerage. You don't have to physically be here. We're all online right now.
Yeah. No, it's great. I think it's a great answer. And with that, we'll close. So Shauna, thank you. This has been such an insightful, you know, past hour and 15 minutes. Yeah, clap all around. Tony, Ella.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for taking the time to listen and hear me talk all about myself. There's nothing awkward about that at all. So
yeah, and just one more comment about Shauna. She has such a huge heart, and she has inspired me and Brittany to be better givers as well in our community and with the things that we're involved with. And that's one of the things that I appreciate most about Shauna. She doesn't share it because she's very humble, but she's a huge giver to those around her, and it makes a difference. So thank you for helping us today. And If you need anything, you know how to reach me, Shauna. You know how to reach the tribe. We can get you in touch if you have any follow-up questions. So thank you again.
Yeah, and I meant it, you guys. If you need anything, please reach out.
All right. Thank you, Shauna. Bye.
Yep.